Hey, welcome back to my channel, everyone. This is my portrait tutorial using Procreate. I have a set of brushes called the Portrait Kit that I purchased on gumroad.com by a creator named Blue Satan. I use the smooth shading, the hair texture brush, and the skin texture brush mainly. I also put everything on a separate layer. So I have a base, I have a shadows and highlights layer, eyes on one, lashes on another, lips on another, etc. I start with a base color, just sort of a neutral skin tone. Then I create a layer for the shadows and highlights. I keep those on the same layer because it makes them easier to blend. I use the finger tool a lot, so I'll put down a color and then I get the finger tool and I sort of blend it in so it's a smoother transition. I start with sort of the slightly darker colors and then move into the darkest shadows. Then I go back in and do highlights. Once you get the basic shapes down with your shading and highlights, you can turn off your outline layer and still see where you're going and what you're doing. The outline layer is really just a guide. It's just there to assist. You don't really want outlines in your final piece. Everything is done with shadows, highlights, and shapes and colors. You want to put red in your portrait to give it more life, because people have blood underneath their skin, and if you don't have that red in there, the portrait looks sort of dead. So red really helps with that. Noses are very difficult. I've had a lot of trouble learning how to do noses. I still don't get them completely right. Getting the exact shape to look right in your portrait can be extremely difficult. You use those shadows and highlights mainly to get that shape, to indicate where that shape is. On the edges of the face, you don't want a line. You really just want shadows and highlights to indicate where the edges are. Highlights on the nose. This really helps bring out the nose. That pure white, you only find pure white in very few places of the skin on a portrait. It's where the light is most intense. So at the tip of the nose in this situation, or in the moisture in the eyes, the light really indicates that eye is moist, or that nose tip is in the right place. Also, you want to blend edges. You don't have any sharp edges on your face. And when you have a crease, you tend to have some shadows around the crease before you get into the very depth of the crease. You can change the size of your brush and the intensity of the color to help deepen a crease, like in the eyelids or the edges of the nose, places like that. Also, you want to look for these highlights and shadows in places where it may not show up so much on the photo. But after you've done portraits for a while, you start to learn like how to find these things, how to see them where you normally wouldn't see them. For example, there on the chin, I'm putting some highlight. You don't really notice that in the photo, but it does help create that shape of the chin. This is a little trick I've learned that is very helpful. I want to do the eyes right now, so I'm going to pull part of this photo down. I've just duplicated the layer. Pull the photo down and erase most of it, but that way the eyes are close to the eyes that I'm drawing. I create a new layer for the eyes, and now I can zoom in but still see the photo while I'm drawing. And then later I'll just delete that layer And then I'll do the same thing with the lips. I'll pull the lips down so that I can see them when I'm drawing, but be able to zoom in real close. Now the whites of the eyes are not white. They have shadows and highlights in them as well. Then the iris of the eye has a variety of colors. So if someone has green eyes, it's not just pure green. It's a variety of colors. If you look really, really close at an eye, you can see that. In this case, he has some red near the pupil. It has a little bit of yellow in it, some blue even, but the overall color from a distance looks green. I always put like a slight highlight also in the color portion. So right there, that little light blue area is my highlight. And then you have the white area near the pupil, which is where the light is reflecting. There's always a shadow underneath the eyelashes on the eye itself. When you do the shadow, when you go over the iris, you want the shadow to be the color of the eye but darker. And the whites of the eyes, it'll be more of a grayish tone, just a little darker than the whites of the eyes. Okay, these little areas here really bring out the moisture in the eyes. It makes it look more realistic if you put the white in the corners of the eyes like that. Eyelashes are tricky to get them to match. I use the hair texture brush for that, and then I use the eraser tool at about half strength and erase the tips, and that makes the eyelashes sort of fade off in the ends. I love that, how that comes out. Love that effect. And lashes are not just one color. So you may do brown or black, but you want to put in highlighted areas. So some of the lashes will be lighter, where the light hits them will be a little bit lighter. And again, sort of blending them in. And then with the whites of the eyes, to bring out the shape, you want to sort of lighten up that area that sticks out the most. You don't want it completely white, but you want it a little bit lighter. That indicates the shape. The crease of the eye, the best way to do that is you need a lot of different values. Lots of shading, lots of highlights, and then as you get deeper in the crease, you'll make your brush size smaller, you'll choose a darker color, and you just continue to go in until you get that darkest depth of the crease. These little highlighted areas in the corners of the eye really create a realistic appearance. They really make that pop out. I love that part of it, putting those finishing touches with the highlights. I use the skin texture brush when I do those highlights on the eyelids themselves. So I choose the white color, use the skin texture brush, and you get a nice little texture that looks more realistic to me than just a regular brush. So there. It's almost a dry brush effect. Thanks for watching this video, and check out part 3 where I'll be illustrating how to do the lips and some other parts of the portrait. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.